I appreciate you switching with Nubby on short notice. I hated to do that, but I greatly appreciate you switching.
No problem.
And I know a lot of these questions, but some folks may not. But where are you from?
South Central Indiana, born and raised.
Born and raised. Been there all your life.
I have.
They were growing up down there. What all lakes are around you or close to you?
So Lake Lemon, Lake Monroe, Patoka's not too far from me. Hardy's not too far from me. Um, Dogwood's not too far from me. Got several around me, so that's always nice.
You sound about like where I'm at now. Right here in Central Kentucky, I can be to Lake Cumberland, Laurel, Wood Creek, Cedar Creek, Taylorsville, Cave Run. There's about 7 lakes I can be to within an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Yep, me too.
And the problem is, I got a boat, and I've only been on 3 of them so far.
Oh, that's a problem.
Fishing, anyways. Fishing,
Yeah.
anyways. I can't talk about what I've done on the other ones.
I don't know. Be good content, huh?
Yeah, probably would be. Well, no, my luck and everybody else's, you post it and it's innocent, and then it gets flagged, and it's like, oh no, can't be jumping off cliff lines. It's anything like that. But
For sure.
you've got all those lakes down there, and who got you into fishing?
So I figured you were going to ask me that. Actually, somebody I used to date actually got me into it. I grew up bobber fishing and out after whatever would bite. And then I dated someone that was big into bass fishing. He did tournaments and all kinds of stuff. And so it started out, I just would go with him, and he kind of taught me the ropes. And then he was like, hey, let's fish some tournaments together. So at first we fished as a team, some tournaments. And then he got me into, hey, let's do some tournaments together where it's a random draw. So he would go as the boater and I was the co-angler, and I loved it. And then he was like, hey, there's a women's group. You want to join that? So I joined it. And about halfway through my first season, I went out and bought a 21-foot bass boat, and I haven't looked back since. He and I aren't together, but I still fish. I absolutely love it.
I got you. And and that's the thing though. You deer hunt too.
Yep. You can see
And-
one of them back there.
Yep.
Deer hunt, turkey hunt, mushroom hunt, shed hunt. I'm pretty much outdoors as much as I can possibly be. So
Oh yeah. They well, what is it? We're at the end of so the rut. I've not hunted in probably 20 years, but the rut here is always towards the end of October, 1st of November. Is that same down where you're at?
pretty close, yeah. Usually October, like Halloween, starts firing up, and then first or second week of November, it's like peak here. So, yep.
So what takes priority for you though during the rut? Is it hunting or is it fishing?
A couple of years ago, it would have been deer hunting, and I think maybe it's starting to inch towards fishing. It kills me either way, which if I'm fishing, I'm thinking about hunting. If I'm hunting, I'm thinking about fishing. So, yeah, that's a tough one.
Thank you for the gifts and everything, Nubby. And that's the thing. Which I hurt my shoulder years ago, and I used to go hunt by myself. That's the reason why I quit, because I didn't want to. I was a little bit scared of getting out there and getting me a good deer, and then having to drag it, 3,000 yards or whatever down to the truck, and
Yeah.
I just got out of it. But that's the one thing that I love about the end of October and about the entire month of November is ain't nobody. You can tell who your fishermen are because that's the only people that's on the lake is people that don't hunt.
For sure.
That's what Nubby's thanking you for filling in for you on last minute.
Yeah, no problem.
But yeah, it's that's the cool part about this interview is I get to talk hunting too some
Yeah.
and that's one thing here living in Central Kentucky. It's a lot of it down here is farm hunting, and that's what I need to start trying to venture out and make friends with someone that's got a farm or someone that's farming corn that needs some what's it, critters removed from their farm
Yeah.
is what I need to do. So one of my questions, you already answered it. I was going to ask, when did you decide to start fishing tournaments? And that was how many years ago has that been though?
I think my first one was in 2021, so really, I'm pretty new to it. In true Leanne fashion, I went from 0 to 100 with it. I don't do anything half, half behind, if you will. Uh, had never fished anything, and then I mean, I think it was like maybe a full year from like my first time throwing a bait caster to owning a boat. I mean,
Yeah.
who does
Well,
that?
I mean, and that's the thing though is, like Uncle Corey is in here. He actually does a podcast for bait makers.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
you know, whether you're painting, making soft plastic, spinner baits, on the small business custom side of it. It's called the Podcast. He does his every Tuesday night here on TikTok. But uh, me and him, we work back and forth together and throw ideas off of each other. For mine and for his, what do you think will work or wouldn't work, so to speak. And just a really good guy. If you ever got time you can learn a lot about the bait makers and the process in it too. But it's but and I just whatever. That's the reason why I started. You said jumping into it head first. It's the same thing with bait making.
Yeah.
Like whenever I decided that I was going to paint lures, it just it was I was like I got to have everything before I start. And it's the same way with fishing because I didn't own my first boat until about the later part of 2023. Sold my Harley Davidson that way I could have the Garmin troller motor and the Garmin live scope and the screens and then I sold it and I was like, man, this was the worst decision I ever made in my life.
Oh no.
Yeah. I miss my Harley, but I enjoy the boat and the electronics I got on it too though.
Funny story. I actually had a motorcycle myself. Sold it long before I ever was into fishing, but I miss it. And I sit here and think, well, when the heck would I ever have time to ride it? I'm either deer hunting turkeys, fishing, whatever. So
Well, that's me. If I'm not fishing and making stupid videos or painting lures, then it's some days I don't know whether I'm coming or going, but it's all worth it though.
oh yeah. And your videos are stupid. I love them.
I appreciate it. I just, I've told everybody for years. I was like, I started doing this. If it makes I'm my own target audience. If it makes me laugh while I'm making it, then I'll post it. And
Absolutely.
if it makes someone else smile or laugh, then it was worth it. So your fishing tournaments, what? And I know this is kind of a broad question, but what would be your confidence lure or bait for every body of water that you would fish? What's something that you're just like you've always got tied on, and if nothing else is working, what are you throwing?
Mm. Probably, probably a stupid tube.
I got you.
That's big in Indiana. It does seem to get bit when nothing else will get bit. You can change up your weight on it, change up your color. It's the goofiest looking bait you'll ever see, but for some reason it's a fish catching machine, and it's become one of my confidence baits for sure. A really close second, I almost hate saying it, but is a Texas rig Cinco.
I, it's if the thing about it is that I hear that a lot from everybody. And I don't know if you've seen the post that I made a few weeks ago, asking people about most underrated lure, you know, and that's what I was sitting there because someone said a stupid tube, and I think it was Uncle Corey Custom Lures. Let's see here. I had it. I know I put it on here. Fluke, rattle trap, jitterbug, blah 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 blah. There it
Kenny
is.
said he was hoping I'd say spinner bait. Now I do throw a spinner bait a lot. I really do. I love those. But when I can't get a bite, a Texas rig Cinco or a stupid tube's my go-to. And then we got a question for what color. Man, there's a lot of good colors. Green pumpkin, probably hard to beat. And then the tube jig head of choice. Probably there's a company, I think it's local to Indiana, if I remember correctly, Secret Lures. Stupid tube head is probably my go-to for that.
What company did you say it was again?
Secret lures.
I got you. I got
Yep.
you.
Pretty
I
sure they're
think
out of Tell City, if I remember right.
it was Tearing It Up and Baby that's on
No, yeah.
that was talking about the tube. But, and that's the thing, it was on that post. I just see here, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 different lures. And I'm just going to run through them real quick if that's
Yeah.
cool with you. And that's got the rattle trap, lipless, fluke, jitterbug, red and gold cashmaster. I don't know iRig. I've never heard of an iRig.
Me either.
Maybe it was a typo for a rig.
Oh, yeah. Could be.
Trick worm, bucktail jig, beetle spin, head and torpedo, which Kenny Dials that's in here. That was one of his, and Nubby G. Just a regular bass jig, soft plastic lizard, frog chunk, rooster tail, which that's mine. I think that's one of the most underrated because I used to creek fish so much down in Harlan. It was just a multi-species slayer for me in the creek and river. Daredevil spoon, a blade bait, Mepps Black Fury bucktail, the tube, whopper plopper, Carolina rig. So it was interesting to see everybody because I was expecting, like a crank, like nobody said a crankbait, and so like that was one I was like, a ton of people was going to say cranks and didn't see it not one time on the post.
Yeah.
But spinnerbait is also one of my go-tos. That was whenever Kenny was on here. Whenever he said spinnerbait, I was like, it's funny because if I'm bass fishing at the lake, I'm typically throwing a spinnerbait.
I've always got one tied on for sure.
Yeah. With your tournament fishing, what's the biggest mistake you see new folks doing while competing in tournaments?
That's a good question. Probably, I'd say there's two things that come to mind. So one, I think retying or changing baits way too much. If you're sitting down retying constantly, that means you don't have a bait in the water. And even if it's the wrong bait, you can't catch a fish if you're sitting down retying.
Yeah.
Like all the time. So that would probably be one. The other one is just not knowing like the right time for the right bait. So, I may be, as the boater, watching my co-angler who might be new, if we're in an area that's just really full of junk, laydowns and stumps and just stuff you're going to get hung up on, maybe they'll pick up a crankbait when maybe that's not the best choice. So just kind of knowing where an area is appropriate for a bait to go, kind of a thing.
I got you. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, yeah, all my bass fishing, I did it while I was waiting. So I was lucky if I had two poles with me, And me and a couple of my buddies has talked, and like if you see me live while I'm fishing, you're probably not going to see me changing much.
Yeah.
And if I do, it's because I've fished for about an hour and a half and I've not caught anything. So I will throw a smaller crank on and just start searching,
Yeah.
with it. But the thing about it is though, it's a confidence thing too that it falls back onto me. And invasive lure setting.
I know, that's what I was laughing at.
Indian buffets the night before the tournament.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
About as bad as eating Taco Bell on the way there.
For sure.
Especially right now, get to real bad case of explosive diarrhea from the lettuce is what I've been hearing. But anyways, on to the next one. What is your most memorable moment fishing a tournament?
Ooh, that's a good one. Probably, I had a really good tournament last year. That's going to be hard to beat. It was my personal best bag, and it just seemed like a day on the water where I couldn't do anything wrong. I mean, it was like a bass fisherman's dream come true. So I pulled up to my first spot, threw a tube, put 2 in the boat right away, went on down the bank. Like I was saying about knowing what bait to use at the right time, the bank kind of went from like a bunch of trash and stumps and stuff to rocky. So I switched the tube out for a whopper plopper, put my 3rd one in the boat on the whopper plopper, ran a couple other spots, put 2 more in the boat on a spinner bait, then culled out with, I think, the Texas rig Senko, and had 14 pounds on a lake that is usually known for about 10 or 11 takes to win. I won my tournament and had outfished the small guys tournament that was there that day too. So
That's awesome.
probably most memorable.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it for sure.
Yeah.
And I always me and you, we've done this before. We've got similar personalities. We like to laugh. We like to cut up. So
Oh yeah.
I asked you your most memorable first. So now I'm going to ask what your most embarrassing moment was in a tournament
Ooh,
or
yeah.
on the water in general.
Okay. Most embarrassing during a tournament. This is hands down easy choice. So I was fishing a BFL. I was fishing as a co-angler. It was probably my first season of BFLs ever. And I had got drawn with an absolute hammer. I mean, I was like super excited and super nervous at the same time to fish with this guy. So we get on the boat, get fishing, having a really good time. Super nice guy, really informative, just great day. I get hung up, so I come from the back deck up to the front deck. And he had a brand new boat. So the carpet was, just real grippy, crunchy, hadn't been broke in, all that good stuff. And then I think, if I remember right, I had rain boots or some kind of sandal that was a little extra grippy. Right as I went to go up the step to the front deck, the bottom of my shoe caught, and I all out bit it. I mean, didn't even catch myself, nothing. Landed like on my wrist in the recessed trolling motor pedal thing. Thought I broke my wrist. Like I hurt so bad, just bit it right on the front deck of the boat. I was so embarrassed because, I look up to this guy and was really wanting to kind of impress him or whatever, and I fall in his boat.
I mean, and I'm glad that you didn't get hurt, but
Yeah.
it's one of those things. People don't realize it, man. Anything can happen at any time on the water.
Yep.
I've seen a lot of crazy stuff happen, and I can see that's where, that would embarrass you, or anybody for that matter, something like that happening. But, it's one of those things. I'm trying to think what I think the most embarrassing moment for me. I might have to come back to it. My brain might have to sit here and think for a few minutes and I'll share it. But
Yeah, I definitely want to hear yours.
yeah, I'm trying to. I would probably say whenever I first got my boat, because I've never backed a boat trailer. I mean, I've backed trailers, but and the good thing is, it's a 24-foot pontoon, so the longer the trailer, the better off you are. But I would say at the boat ramp, probably the most embarrassing or like the most nervous for me was that first time backing the boat down the ramp, and it was atrocious, and it was busy, and I was like, and I'm sitting there thinking all in my head, I'm like, you hear all these war stories, like people getting mad and this, that, and the other. So like my anxiety was through the roof anyways. Like I'd back a little bit in the boat, I just see it go like, yeah. I'm like, nah. I'm like, how? I was like, I ain't even turning the wheel. But that's probably my most embarrassing moment was because, I mean, there was boats, trucks waiting, and I know I was getting cussed and everything else probably. But I would say the most going on the kayak side was my first morning with the kayak. Never been in one, never kayak fished, nothing. So I'm like, I'm getting there at dark. There ain't gonna be nobody there over here at Lake Reba in town. And I get there and there's 2 guys in their 60s sitting there at the dock eating breakfast and waiting for their buddy to show up with his boat. And I said, y'all gonna get a dinner and a show. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, I was hoping there wasn't nobody gonna be here. I said, this is my first time ever getting in a kayak. And he's like, you'll be all right. But luckily I got on it and he was like, well, it looks like you've done it a million times. I said, thankfully, I said, I was afraid I was going to flip over 19 times, be soaking wet. But It happens. It happens. If you could give someone advice that was thinking about getting into fishing tournaments, what would it be?
Hmm, that's a good one. I would say you don't have to start. You don't have to go 100 miles an hour into it like me. If you show up with a Zebco 33 to fish your first tournament, like just do it. I think a lot of times we just overthink a lot of things and miss out on stuff because of that. Like you don't have to show up with all new rods and reels and the latest and greatest baits or whatever. Just do it. That's kind of my best advice. Don't overthink it. And if you have questions, I'm sure there's plenty of people on TikTok or whatever your favorite platform is to ask. And um, you know, the best day on the water or the worst day on the water is better than your best day at work or whatever else you're going to do. So
You
I would
got
just say,
that?
yeah, don't be afraid and do it.
You're right on that.
All right, Kenny, that was the other thing I was going to say. A local bass club probably is the greatest way to actually get started if you're wanting like how to do it. Or a USA Bassin, that's another really great organization. Yeah.
Bass Craze asked you, what's the best tournament circuit in your state?
Ooh, that's a loaded question because I know what he's asking. Um, okay, best all women's group, obviously Indiana Bass and Gals. That's my group. Non women's, the Indiana Bass Federation is pretty good. I started fishing them this year. Awesome group of guys. Fish really good lakes, usually at good times of the year. That's the one I'm going to go with.
I got you. You just don't fish tournaments in Indiana. You travel, right?
I do.
So what all states have you traveled to fish in these tournaments?
Um, well, just fishing in general or
Yeah.
tournaments.
Or you fishing in general and tournaments.
Okay. I've been to Texas, Kentucky, Michigan, Alabama, Tennessee. I feel like I'm missing some. Those are just right off the hip here. Missouri. Um, I've been a lot of places.
Yeah. And Bass Craze asks, is it true you're one of the very best ladies in the nation?
Oh, I don't think so. I wouldn't think
Well,
so.
I will say this: anybody that's willing to get out of their comfort zone, and I don't fish tournaments. I've not even fished local tournaments because, like I said, I've never found a wade fishing bass tournament. That's where my confidence is at. Is wade fishing for fishing smallmouth. Um, but anybody that's willing to get out of their comfort zone and do like what you're doing, Kenny Dials, anybody. But I guess that's what I'll bring up real quick. These tournaments? Are you competing just against women, or is it like you know uh, co-ed men and women in tournaments?
So I would say it's probably equal. Um, I don't know. I'd have to really add it up, but most of the time I'm probably competing against men, and honestly, I'm usually one of the only females. And then the other times I'm competing are just against women. So I've done both. Um, it depends. So I've had some years where I fished way more against men than I did women, and then some years it's been about equal. This year happens to be about equal, but yeah, sometimes I'm the only girl at the tournament.
Yeah,
So
and that's the thing. That's what I'm talking about. That had to in the beginning, even if it was. I guess what I'm trying to say is, if it makes sense, is that's out of your comfort zone completely. It would be for me,
for
you know.
sure.
Whether you're competing just against women or co-ed, like I said, with men, against men, it's a lot of pressure just to make that jump to where you're going to go and do this. And then I'm sure you probably got some comments there in the beginning, whenever you got started, first got started and overcame them. If you want to share any of those, you're more than welcome to. But
Honestly, never any bad comments,
that's
believe
good.
it or not. I think most of the time, if I ever got treated any different, it would be more because I was new than I think a girl, which I always appreciated.
Yes.
I do get comments like when I'm loading or unloading the boat at the ramp by myself. I mean, people will literally stop and watch for a minute, and usually they wait till I get it all the way loaded or unloaded, and they'll say, "Dang, girl, you did a really good job," and I'm saying, "Thanks, it's not my first time doing it. It took me a long time to get it down to a science the way I do, but yeah, I get a lot of comments at the ramp and even out on the water when they see me by myself on the boat. I got a marriage proposal one time on the water.
I remember seeing that video.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, was you going underneath a bridge or something like that? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a couple of years ago. I had my Insta360 with me. It was recording, and it had actually fallen over. And when this interaction happened, I wasn't sure that it captured it. And I got home, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is gonna make a great TikTok."
Yeah, I remember it. It was funny.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen it, go to my profile and check it out. It's worth a view. It's pretty funny. So
it is. Yeah. And that's the thing. I'll tell people all the time, I was like, I try my best once a week, to click over on the friends and sit there and scroll, once a week or so, for 20, 30 minutes, because there's so many people that support me over on my page. I feel guilty at times for not taking the time to do the same. But it's just life gets in the way with but it is what it is. But, I can't remember if I asked you already or not, but we've talked about deer hunt, but which one do you prefer the most, fishing or deer hunting?
So it used to be deer hunting over fishing, and now I'm pretty sure it's a little fishing over deer hunting. Just because I think I've got to kill some pretty big ones. Not that ever makes it any less special, but I don't know. Honestly, they're probably even. They're really probably even. I love them both so much. You just can't beat a cold November morning in a deer stand. And then I tell you what, I bring deer snack sticks to eat on the boat. So that's another big bonus right there.
Yeah. Well, it keep you motivated to be able to get your snacks for when you're fishing.
Oh yeah.
In my opinion, there is nothing better than some good deer jerky. They're a buddy of mine, and that's what I miss about hunting is having that endless supply, of deer burgers and the tenderloins and being able to make the jerky and everything. So luckily, I got a couple of buddies that hunt, and they usually take care of me every year, give me a little bit.
No.
I was like, you throw something to me. I was like, I'll help you with your butchering fee,
There you go.
So
Yeah.
they take care of me, but I would agree though. There's no better snack than deer jerky.
Yes.
Homemade deer jerky is the best. And what's the biggest buck you've ever took down while you've been out there?
So he's actually in the freezer right now. I haven't had him scored yet, but I'm gonna guess he's probably, and I know this isn't big for some people, but it's big for me, and I'm tickled to have him. I'm guessing he's probably about 130 inches.
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah, I was happy with it.
No, that's I mean, 100 the spread. You can fit 3 basketballs inside that thing.
Yeah, that guy behind me is pretty wide. He didn't score very high because he's short, but he's my second biggest back there.
Yeah, I was sitting here talking about deer hunting. I might have to start asking people for favors.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I need to, once you fill your tags out, let me come down there. And let me ask you, do you use live scope?
I do, but I will be the first to tell you I am not proficient with it. So I typically use it to scan structure and see if there's fish there more than I know some people chase individual fish with it and that kind of thing. Yeah, that ain't my game. So
I have it, and I use it more so for whenever I'm not fishing for crappie, because I can search a lot quicker, in that deeper water, and find where they're at. I mean, just like Friday night, me and my buddy Philip went, and I was sitting up there looking at the screen. He was like, "What are you looking at up there?" He's not he likes to fish, but he don't know a lot about it, you know. And I was like, well, come up here. And he'd never seen a live scope screen. And he's like, what am I looking at here? And I was like, well, here's a ball of shad. Here's a tree top. And I was sitting there scanning. And I was like, right over here, I said, where we're going to anchor out at. And he was like, why? I said, and I got closer and zoomed in. And it looked like there was about 160 crappies suspended in about 40 foot of water and brush and structure. And I was like, every one of them's crappie. And you could see those balls of bait fish up above them. And you just watch them, you know, come up and eat and then go back down. And it was right next to a hump. So I was like, we're going to back off of this. I said, about 15, 20 yards. I said, throw the anchors out and wait for it to get dark. Caught a ton. We caught a ton of fish the other night. Just they weren't real. I mean, they got to be 9 inches to keep. And I'd say between both of us, we probably caught 40 or 50 crappie, but only 16 of them was keepers.
Yeah. Well, still a fun time, though.
Hey, it was anytime you're pulling 2 and 3 rods felt like I was playing the drums there for about 30 minutes, you know, sitting there pulling them in and out. But that's the thing, though, you know, like what I got cracked up, though, was like I had some buddies of mine whenever I first got live scope, and I compared it to hunting. And they were talking crazy, like, oh, you just catching fish because you got that live scope, this, that, and the other. And I was like, you still hunt? And he was like, yeah. I said, you put salt block out? I said, or, you know, deer feed, or, you know, I was like, you throw, you know, rub doe urine on your boots. I said, whenever you go hunting. He was like, yeah. I was like, what's the difference? I was like, it's a tool. I was like, if you're feeding them with corn, you're putting salt licks out, you know, hanging them out of trees, there's no difference.
Yeah.
110%, no difference. I said the difference is they're going to get used to coming there and eating. I said, so in my opinion, I was like, hunting that way is worse than using live scope. Whenever I said that, they was like, okay, you got it.
That made them get quiet real quick.
Oh, yeah. Let's see.
While you're looking, I think it was Doe Run Customs asked if I bow hunt. Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
Yeah, I do bow hunt. I have a really nice Elite Envision bow, and it is purple.
So here's one for you.
Yep.
If you were going out on a date and you had to pick between wearing your fishing jersey or all camo, what are you wearing?
Oh. Like all camo as in like my pants too?
Yep.
Dang. I'm going to go fishing jersey.
All right.
Fishing jersey.
And I was going to ask anyways, but fishing jersey, do you have any sponsors or, you know, advertise for any companies while you're out on the water?
Only people that I like and I support. So I truly don't have any actual sponsors or anything. It's funny you should say that. Bass Craze that's on here keeps trying to get me to apply to have sponsors. He swears that I could probably get some if I wanted to, but I really haven't tried at all. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely companies and people that I support, and I'll make a video for them here and there, or have their sticker on my boat, you know, that kind of thing, but no official sponsorships. So yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, you know. I mean, that's the thing, is it's one of those things that in a way, you know, like my pro staff, like, you know, I don't bug them, you know, I don't. You can ask any of them, like, and the reason for that is whenever I first got on here, people were asking me to fish with their lures, and you know, I was like, yeah, I can do some unboxings, I can fish with your stuff, forget stuff, and I won't say any names, but there was one guy that just wanted me to fish with just his stuff and his alone. And I was like, dude, that ain't reasonable, that ain't feasible. I was like, I've never done that. I was like, even like if I went to Walmart, I said, I'm gonna get some Uncle Buck's Helger mites. I'm probably gonna have some Bobby Garland, you know, like, I was like, come on now. I was like, you're living in Never Land or something. I was like, but you know, it does. I could honestly see and I'm not speaking for everybody, this is just my way of thinking, is if you did have a sponsorship or a big sponsorship, I could see those companies aggravating, unless you had a contract or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just, I would almost feel like that would be even more pressure on me to perform. And it just, I don't know. I guess that's the way I'm looking at it. And that's just for me. That ain't for everybody, but I'm just kind of vomiting at the mouth right now, thinking out loud. But it's just, I couldn't imagine the added pressure that already goes into making sure your boat's good, making sure you got somewhere to stay that's safe, everything that even just not the tournament itself, all the prep that goes into it, getting your
Sure.
boats ready, making sure you got food, making sure you got drink. I mean, it just, I get stressed out going out on a day to the water with my family, just making sure we got everything that we need.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long ago it was, man, but I seen Matt Robertson post a video, or it was a video of his the other day where I can't remember what lake he was at. I think it was in Texas, but someone broke in his truck or his boat and stole every bit of his gear.
Yeah. That's pretty much my worst nightmare.
Yeah, I mean,
All of ours, really.
I seen that and I was like, I mean, he was like, I'm talking. He's like, my glide baits, pose. He was like, everything. And I was just like, I don't even know if I would have had the composure enough to even post a video.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I don't know.
I'd take you out of the game real fast.
Yeah. Yeah. It's comparing apples to oranges, but me and my brother floated Silver Creek. I think it was about a month and a half ago, and I flipped my yak and lost about $100 worth of terminal tackle.
Oh no.
I was in about 5.5, 6 foot of water, but literally floated another, I think it was about 4 hours left in the float, and I had all kinds of soft plastics, like 3 crankbaits.
Oh
And,
no.
but that's why I think it was right before I was on Corey's podcast with him. I told him, I said, I think it might have been God's, because I was in an online tournament with about 36 other people. And it wasn't for no big money or, nothing like that. But I was still like, man, and I didn't even get on the board during it. But I was
While he's
still,
down.
the what?
I said, kick a man while he's down, why don't you?
Well, but I was aggravated for a little bit, and I told my brother, I said, I think this is God's way of just saying, enjoy yourself, just float. And that's why I ended up. I didn't even fish like the last 2 hours.
Oh.
I just floated, just looked around. It was still fun, but I was like, man, this is the only time I was gonna get to float a creek during this tournament. And I ain't even gonna get on the board. Caught fish, but none of them qualified. But do you have any tournaments coming up here soon that you're fishing in?
I had one yesterday actually, and then I think I have a couple week break of actual my fishing tournaments. But this Saturday, my women's fishing club is putting on our youth fishing tournament over here at my local lake. Pretty excited about that. We had to cancel last year due to high water, but we usually have like 100 kids come, and we don't take them out. So that's the question we always get. They're allowed to fish from the bank or their own boat, but it's pretty much a regular tournament. So they go out, we give a numbered takeoff just like we would. We play the national anthem, have a little on the water meeting, send them off. They come back and weigh in, and they get money and, gobs of prizes, rod and reel combos, tackle boxes. And then we do a bunch of non-fishing prizes too. So like footballs and basketballs and hula hoops and bubble packs, like all kinds of stuff. And then we feed them lunch, and they do a little silly safari presentation where the kids can like pet these animals and see different things up close and all kinds of stuff. Like it's a whole event. So I have that Saturday, so I'm pretty excited.
That's cool. You have to. Are y'all doing that? You just do that the one time a year?
Yep. So it's always the first Saturday in August.
I got you. Well, you ain't too awful far from me. I will try to put something together tonight after we get off of here and get it out to you. I probably just be able to do one this year. I'll send you one of the ultimate tackle boxes
Oh, okay.
and give that the first place. And I'll try to put some two or what y'all do, three places
Good
for
question. I
Friday.
think it's based on the number of entries we have. I think we do top five, to be honest, in all the categories. But
Well, I'll tell you what, I will do the ultimate tackle box and I will do four smaller boxes.
okay, well,
And,
thanks.
and like I said, I'll get those sent out tomorrow and just hope that they hope that they get there by Saturday. But remind me if you think about it next year a little bit ahead of time,
Yeah,
and I'll get with some of these other guys and see if they want to send some stuff as well to help out with those prizes. I'm sure they would.
that's awesome. Okay.
No, and like all the money that I don't know if you know this or not, like all the money that I'm making from gifts on here and the tackle grabs that I do, I'm doing towards giveaways for kids at the cane pole, bypass bait and tackle, and backwaters up in
Yeah,
Lexington.
that's awesome.
So that's what I went with Albert for lunch the other day after I got done putting stuff in up there and told him I said this is what I'm looking at. I was like you need to start trying to find someone. I
Oh,
said find a young'un. So I said hopefully I said if it grows a little bit more over the year, I said we can start doing it for more kids, as a plan. Because that was like I was sitting. I done that show over in Pikeville, and there was a boy. He walked around in my booth. I bet it was him and his mom and dad, and I bet he walked around for 20 minutes looking. And he finally come over there, and he had a pack of BFE's double tail crappie baits. And I said, "Is that all you want?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "How much are they?" I said, $300. He looked up at his dad, and his dad, started dying laughing. And I said, "You'll learn." I said, "Your dad keeps bringing you shows." I said, "You're gonna learn." I said, "The older fishermen," I said, "like to give the younger ones a hard time." I said, "Tease them." I said, "But if that's all you want," I said, "You can have them." You know.
Oh,
And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah." I said, "If that's all you want," I was like, "If you want to get two or three more packs," and I said, with something else, I said, "I'd much rather see you fishing or with your nose in your phone."
absolutely.
But I think he got him one more pack and was on his way. But
You made his day.
well, it's little things like that we all do. I mean, I'm sure you've done the same thing at ramps. Seen
Oh, yeah.
kids give them stuff, lure. I mean, it's part of it. Yeah, Pooh was there. I forgot he was there, wasn't he?
Oh, hi,
Yeah,
Pooh.
yeah. Pooh comes and hangs out with me at the shows and helps me.
I've
So
never met her, but I just love her. I don't know if she knows that or not, but
Pooh is good people. There for the longest time. Me and Pooh, we've known each other for going on about 8, 9 years now.
oh, wow.
And I was live one night, and someone was like, "Did you and her meet on here?" And I was like, "Actually, me and her walked together in her brother's wedding." I
Oh,
was like, I said, "That's how me and Pooh met." I said, "It was through her brother." But yeah, I mean, she fished in the ladies only tournament that 706 put on.
oh, nice.
I can't remember how many. I was proud of her. She was. Can't remember how she come in second, and they could only fish one day. I
Oh,
think was
wow.
the rule. They had to pick what day they had to fish. But yeah, it's a load of fun. I have fun doing what I'm doing, and that's what we all do. Um, that's the exciting part about it, and even more so now, like on the bait making side, the hard baits is and for me, just fishing small business, there's nothing wrong with fishing. I did for years, Bobby Garland, Mepps, I mean, I was a guy that was in Walmart in the clearance and was buying everything that I could buy. But man, once I got on here and started meeting people that was painting and making lures, it just, and I'm sure you're probably the same way. For me, it's more exciting whenever I catch something that someone's made that I
Oh,
know.
yeah.
It's their own personal touch or whatever on it, and it's just I get just as excited because I bought some painted lures from a guy and he was like, "Well, don't you paint?" I was like, "Yeah, but I still like to fish." And I, I was like, "I don't buy from anyone." I said, "Other than small bait makers." I said, "I see it, I like it, I want it."
Yeah.
And but it's exciting for me. It is, anyways.
Yeah.
You need to get you something to drink or anything. We're gonna do the no time to retie here real quick.
Let's do it.
I know you're familiar with it, so are you ready?
I'm ready.
So here we go. Sunrise or sunset bite?
Sunrise.
Finish the sentence. Every fisherman should stop.
Overthinking.
Favorite? Fishing or deer hunting?
Fishing.
What's more dangerous? A buck during the rut or an angler on tournament morning?
Oh. Angler on tournament morning.
I would agree with that. And that's me any morning I'm going fishing. If your hunting and fishing buddies had to describe you in 3 words, what would they be?
Oh. 3 words. Probably late, caffeinated, and ambitious.
Hey, there you go. Hey, that right there was good.
To be honest.
Because I'm never late. I'm always very, very, very early, and I'm always caffeinated. And I would probably have to say probably full of nicotine.
Yeah, hey,
You know,
works.
we'll do the end of live giveaway here in a few minutes. I'm gonna do it the number way. You don't have to, just as long as you've interacted during the live, we'll do that. But do you have any questions for me by chance?
I am curious. You started to kind of talk about what got you into painting. How did you get into it?
Corey asked me this, and whenever I was on his, and I had always I put model cars together and stuff whenever I was a kid, and I guess once my grandmother realized that I was smart enough to do it or capable of doing it, I guess is the best. Still not very smart, but capable enough of putting them together. I was painting them just with a paintbrush. So the next time we were at like my grandmother, she, like, if there was a arts and crafts to do, she could do it. I mean, the flower arrangements, she decorated, made wedding cakes, 10-tier cakes.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was insane, the stuff that she could do. But she actually bought me an airbrush for me to airbrush and showed me how to load the paint and thin it and, adjust the air pressure and stuff like that, how to clean it. And once I got into the business, I was just buying and reselling. Didn't plan on doing anything. And Natalie down at the barbershop, she said a lot of people was asking if any of it was made local. And the answer was no. It's all made from U.S. small bait makers. And I'd seen guys, like 3D printed lures, fingerprint customs, Paul Tark, Dave with Barrett Baits. There's so many of the guys that I was watching, it's hard to name them all. GTK was another one. I'd watch them, and I didn't even know that was a thing until I got on TikTok. Never had thought about buying airbrush to do it, but once she presented the question that was being asked, is any of this being made local? The answer was no. So I was like, I'm gonna buy me an airbrush and some paint, and whenever I say some, like a couple $100 worth of blanks and hooks and split rings and everything, and I wouldn't have been able. I had the inner workings, of working the airbrush and painting with the airbrush, but not to the details that go into fishing lures. And there's so many people that I could sit here. I'd have to, if I thanked every one of them, the few of them there that I mentioned are people that I would ask questions, like I'd run into an issue or with a clear coat or just you know, it was, I think I started using the BSI 2-part epoxy like a month or so ago. And, hearing a bunch of those guys talk about it, I was always using UV. And Dave, he owns Pretty Lures now, bait making supply company. And Dave actually walked me through the process on what I needed to do in order to, clear coat, use that as my clear coat. So if it hadn't been for seeing a bunch of guys doing it and even knowing it, I mean that, I wouldn't. That's how I got into it. I seen them doing it, and then that question got asked, and I was just like, I'm gonna try it and see what happens.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's fun. I'll do it. I mean, if I cut my LLC off at the end of the year, I'll paint fishing lures till I can't pick a hairbrush up.
There you go.
Yeah, it's just about as fun doing as fishing. Yeah, it's especially helps with everybody needs a hobby, and you can't. I mean, I wish I could fish every day. Um, I will tell you, it has at times cut into fishing. Um, I mean, it's fun. It's a job. Nonetheless, it is work, but I don't look at it as work.
Yeah, they say if you find something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. So
That's a fact. I mean, it is. It's. I don't. I tried the soft plastics, and it just wasn't my thing. It was. I knew it was going to be a lot of work, but the thing that got me on doing the plastics was the reheating. I mean, every time I'd get that plastic up to temperature, I'd draw it up, inject it in the molds. And then by the time they'd cool down, your Pyrex full of plastic had cooled down. So you had to reheat it, stir it, you know what I mean, get it back to the right temp to do it. But I was just like, man, I was like, this ain't for me right now. I can't do both.
well, I will say this: the coolest thing when I first got on TikTok was seeing all you bait makers doing your thing on here. It is just awesome to watch you guys do your magic on these baits. I mean, I couldn't do half of what you guys do, and
I,
honestly, I've supported a lot of bait makers on here. I know BFE's in here. I've bought his stuff before, and it's awesome when you can see local people doing their talent on here. So
and that's the thing is there's a ton of talent. It's like we always refer to folk. Folks will be like, "Oh, you do good," and for the majority, I all of us are as humble as we can be and appreciate the nice comments and everything. But I along with a lot of other people that paint, we just say we spray and pray,
yeah.
pray and pray. You got any more questions?
Did you ever think of your most embarrassing fishing story?
The backing down the boat ramp. I will go ahead and I'll tell you, it wasn't too embarrassing for me. I think it was for the other guy. I like to go camping on my pontoon, and when you're camping on a boat, you got to adapt to the situation. And my pontoon didn't come with a bathroom, so I made myself a makeshift toilet. And one morning, I was having to you go to the bathroom, and I was on the back of the boat. Bass boat come around. He just kept getting closer, kept getting closer, and I just sat there and kept talking to him. And he's like, "Buddy," he said, "what are you doing?" He said, "You're sitting off low to the ground." He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Well," I said, "I'm taking a," and he went, "Oh," and as soon as I said that, he started going that. But I mean, I would say I was a little bit embarrassed because I'm like, man, I was like, I'm stuck. I'm here. The sun just raised up. Nature called. I'm sitting here just I heard. I'm like, oh shit. I was like, this ain't gonna be no good. Um, I would say probably it is what it is. Yeah, I mean it is what it is. I did lose my swimming trunks one time. Tubing fell off. Skipped. skipped across the water a few times. Not completely. Luckily, not completely. They were still dangling
Oh
on my
man, you got lucky.
on my ankle, but it that was pretty embarrassing for a minute until I realized that I still had them intact. Not intact, but still there to where I could. Um, there's been all kinds of stuff. I will tell you probably my most memorable moment or my favorite funny memory. And I don't know if you've seen that shirt I wore in some of my TikToks. Got the catfish on it, and it says meow right
Yep.
underneath it. Me and my daughter were fishing. She was probably 4 years old, bank fishing, and I caught a catfish, and I got it up on the bank, and she was like freaking out. She's like, "What in the world?" Because she hadn't ever seen one. She just seen bluegill and bass, and she was like, she seen the whiskers. What in the world is that? And I said, well, that's a catfish, and she got real quiet. And I was sitting there, getting the hook out, and I picked it up, and I was like, "You want to take a picture with it?" She's like, "No." And I was like, "What?" And she was still this day will not touch a fish. She'll put a worm on her hook and stuff. Well, I can't get her to. That's her mommy in her, I think, because her mommy she don't like touch fish either. And but she said, "Dad," she said, "if that's a catfish, why doesn't it meow?"
Oh.
And I started dying laughing. And the guy about 10, 15 yards down from us was laughing. And she was sitting there looking at him, and she'd look at me and look at him and look at me. And she said, "Daddy, it's not nice to laugh at me." And
Oh.
I said, "Honey," I said, "I'm sorry." I was like, but that was the most innocent question and legitimate, from a kid,
Right.
too. And that's what that guy told me as I was leaving. He's like, "Dude," he's like, "I've been fishing my whole life, been around kids." He said, "I've never had that funny of a question." He said, "But it's a legitimate question."
Absolutely.
So this past Father's Day, the catfish shirt that says meow on it, that's what she got me for Father's Day.
Oh, I love it. I
Yeah.
love it so much.
Yeah. So, yeah, I told her she's cheering now. So I was like, I'm going to wear it to one of your games. She's like, "Please don't.
Please don't.
Please
No one
don't."
would ever know.
That's what, every time I'm at the ramp, like Philip let me off at the marina, and I was just walking through the other morning to go get the truck, and put the boat on the trailer, and there was like four people stopped, and, like pointed at my shirt and laughed. I said, "I ain't got time to tell you the story." I said, "Amazon." I said, "Amazon's where I got it." I said, "Just look up," or where they got it. I said, "Look up catfish meow." But
That's awesome.
But it's I enjoy. I told her, I said, "If I ever lose this shirt or something," I said, I'll die." I said, because I said, "This is my new favorite fishing shirt." So everybody probably see me with the catfish meow shirt on a lot more.
That's awesome. I love that.
Is anybody else, or have you got any questions anymore?
Hmm. So, what states have you been to fish in? Have
I've been to Tennessee. Well, obviously Kentucky, Tennessee. I have fished technically in Ohio. I fished the Ohio River. It's been years and years and years and years and years ago. Florida
Nice.
and Tennessee. I think I already said Tennessee, but about four. If
Yeah,
I could move to Okeechobee, Florida tomorrow, I would.
I'd go with you.
Because I'm telling you, that is, Norris Lake was where Norris or Cherokee is where we'd always go. Like whenever I lived in Harlan, but I went down to Okeechobee. It was I think 2021 with one of my buddies, and we went down there and crappie fished, and it was just it was a blast. The only thing I will say about it, I wouldn't swim in the lake because of the gators that I've seen, but it was I guess what was crazy, you get so far out on the lake, I mean it's like being in the ocean. That lake's so wide and long. We was out there, and I mean 360 degrees, you didn't see a bank.
Yeah, it's a good feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. I mean I've done deep sea fishing before, but you could still see the
Mm-hmm.
the shoreline, I guess. So I mean, the buildings look like piss ants, but you could still see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she says Alabama. Thank you, Pooh. Yeah, I've been to Alabama to fish too. I
Oh
usually,
yeah, you went with Big Country, didn't you?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I've been down to Alabama on Smith and Gunnersville twice. Um, took my nephew the second time I went. He had never fished anywhere other than in Kentucky. So that was his first fishing trip, out of the state. And we got down there. We went to crappie fish, and I couldn't buy a crappie. I I
Really?
would I would fish hard for crappie for about an hour and a half, and I'd say piss on this. And there's an island out there. The first time I went down there, Big Country was telling me about, because the first time I went was in October, and the second was in April. So it was right around, at pre-spawn time down there, so to speak. But it's called Goat Island, and it's just a big ass island out in the middle of Smith Lake. And we trolled around that thing every day, probably 4 or 5 times, and we'd catch spotted bass. I mean, it seemed like, I think one day between me and my nephew, I think we caught 18.
Oh,
And the
wow.
biggest one was, I think, well, I didn't weigh none of them. The longest one was 24 inches. I
Dang
mean,
on.
it was a fun time, and he had a blast. But have you ever fished Smith or in Alabama? I know you named a bunch off. I couldn't
So
remember.
the only lake in Alabama I fish is Pickwick. I've been there. Believe it or not, I've not been to Gunnersville. It's on my bucket list. Want to go there real bad, but have
It,
not been to
it's
Smith.
shallow. It's shallow in places. I hadn't ever experienced that. I launched my pontoon in about 5.5 foot of water.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, from the ramp that I was at. Now, that's the only ramp that I ever use because it's quick and easy.
Yeah.
I always give everybody opportunity in the chat to ask you questions. So, and we've answered a lot of them as we went. But if anybody's got any, uh, right now would be the time to ask them. And I want to thank you again for switching with Nubby. I know at short notice, and really appreciate it. And it's always fun. We don't talk that often, but when we do, it's always a pleasure
Oh yeah.
and a lot of fun. I'm glad that you wanted to come back and do this again. That way, I can download the live, edit it out, and we can have this, over on YouTube and Spotify to go back and listen to.
That's awesome. I love it. Yeah, when you asked me, I was so excited that you thought of me again. The first time, I'm not going to lie to you, I probably wasn't that good of a guest. I was so nervous, and I really thought it was going to be more of an interview versus conversational. And so I kept thinking, like, okay, well, else is he going to ask me? And then you asked me if I had any questions for you, and I was like, no. And I don't know. I just felt like I was not a very good entertaining guest the
Hey,
first time around. But
I will tell you this right now. I get so scatterbrained on here sometime. I feel like I'm not a very good host. Just being honest with you, because it's like I go from one thing and then my mind's thinking about something else. It's like I'm trying to put a puzzle together
yep.
while I'm doing that. That's if it wasn't for me printing some questions out to go by, it would be even worse. And Pooh says you did awesome, and yes, you was. I agree, you was.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
you was for sure. Sam says, "What is your most confidence bait or lure?"
Hmm. I am a pitch and junkie. So if I can find structure to go flip and pitch and do all that, that is my jam. So probably any kind of Texas rig soft plastic, and I'll mix it up based on where I'm at. Sometimes it's a big old, I mean big. Like some people make fun of how big of baits I throw, but sometimes it's a big old creature bait. Sometimes it's a little, finessey type Cinco, or a brush hog, or all kinds of different things. But any kind of Texas rig soft plastic, that's hard to beat for me. So a close second would be a spinner bait, I think.
Sure. Uncle Corey asked, "What boat you got?"
Oh, I have a 2008 Stratus 201 XL. I love that boat.
Sorry, walleye guy. I just seen what that you asked. He asked the same quick confidence bait.
Yep.
Kenny says Gunnerville is where I was fishing the Toyota tournament this spring and ran over a flat. Hey, I'm telling you, it's different. Which I've never fished Kentucky Lake, and they say Kentucky Lake's about the same.
It is. That shocks me that you haven't fished there. I was down there last fall, and funny thing is, I had boat motor trouble 2 of my 3 days of the tournament. But that is wild how that lake is set up. And you really got to pay attention to channel markers and whatnot when you're down there. Shoo!
That's what I've heard. I need to get down there. This here BFE has next year's tourney schedule came out, and what tourneys you fishing?
So they haven't come out yet, but I'll probably continue with the Indiana Bass Federation, and definitely Bass and Gals. I'll be fishing that till I can't fish anymore. And I thought about adding in some other stuff. I actually do fish another little club here and there. I've been toying with the idea of jumping back in the BFLs. Don't know if I'll do that yet or not. But yeah, those are my two main trails at the moment.
I know I asked you about your most successful or your most memorable, and you talked about the tournament. It just seemed like you couldn't do nothing wrong. But I didn't ask you, and Uncle Corey, what's your PB bass?
Believe it or not, I have been to some absolute world-class fisheries. I'm talking St. Clair, Lake Erie, Sam Rayburn, Chickamauga, Pickwick, a lot of places, like great, phenomenal places. And for some odd reason, my PB is from my home lake, which is not exactly known for big bass. It's 5 pounds, 3 ounces. Definitely a respectable fish, but I cannot believe I have not broken that PB yet.
Well, it's well above mine.
Yeah.
It's
And
well above.
technically, I guess I almost broke it last year at Sam Rayburn. This just pains me to tell it out loud, but I'll tell it. I actually hooked into one that was probably somewhere in the 6-7 pound range. Was bringing it to the boat, and the guy I was fishing with came barreling. I mean, barreling. I've never seen him move so fast in my life, from the back deck to the front deck with the net. And when he was coming forward, I was bringing the fish this direction, and I just in the heat of the moment decided, oh, I need to get out of his way, and I changed directions with the fish, and I watched that spinnerbait just go right out of its mouth, and the fish took off. I had a little moment. I knew it was my PB.
I had a white bass on the last time. It was the time me and my wife went down to the Green River. We was night fishing. And I always say I would rather a fish break off and me not even get to see it.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, whenever I got that bass up, I mean it was running crazy. And whenever it turned over on its side, it looked like a boogie board. And then and she hollered, she said, "Oh my God, that's the biggest crappie I've ever seen in my life." And I said, "No," I said, "that ain't a crappie." I said, "That's the biggest white bass I've ever seen in my life." And about the time she went to go get it and come back, he went, and it was slow motion. It popped, and it's almost like the fish was like, "Am I free?" I mean, like it just stood there for just a second,
Yeah.
and it just went slow motion.
Mm.
Man, I was like, "That's crazy." It kills me. It kills me to see what broke off. I can't stand it. Dave, I'm glad you love the baits, dude.
The worst thing was I knew better than to do what I did, and I did it. I can't explain it to this day, but
It happens. It
yeah.
happens. Walleye guy says, "Do you process your own deer or bring to a locker?"
So I have done both. I know how to skin it and process it myself. But a lot of times, like the last deer I got, I deboned it, took the whole thing to the processor down here, and had the whole thing made into snack sticks and summer sausage. So I don't do that part, but I can, process a deer and make it into like traditional burger and steaks and cut the back straps out and all that.
Uncle Corey says, favorite rod and reel combo.
So I'm a G Loomis girl through and through. So all of my rods are G Loomis, and all my reels are Daiwa, which I get a little hate for, but I have the world's smallest hands. And so I was in the market for a really low profile reel, and I came across I'm not sure how you say it. I think I always say Tatula, but Tatula 100s. They're real low profile and fit my hands the best that I had tried at that time, and I've just stuck with them. They've never done me wrong. So a G Loomis rod and a Daiwa reel is my go-to.
BFEC is still going to do BFLs with the new changes.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I mean, to me, I don't mind. I could care less about the forward facing. They take it away, I'm still going to be able to catch fish. The only thing that would be a pain in the butt to me is that's my transducer up front, and that's how I see even the depth and all the other stuff. So to take it off or lock it or whatever they do, that'd be a pain in the butt for me. But I don't know. If I found a good partner, if they turn it into that partner deal, I don't think it would stop me from fishing them. I know the payout schedule could use some work, but it's always been that way as far as I've ever fished them, so I don't know any different.
But if nobody else has got any questions, I guess we'll end her. And I appreciate you very, very much.
I appreciate you having me.
I had a blast sitting down, bull crapping, talking fishing, and hunting with you. And never know, we might do it again sometime in the near future again.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good. I appreciate you, Sims. Thank you, everybody that come in and hung out, and we will see y'all in 3 days. 3 days I'll be on my nubby. So on the 29th. But if y'all need anything, let me know, and appreciate you, Kenny. Y'all have a good one.